So Vicky, thank you so much for being here today. And we've just been looking at a challenging scenario, and this is the reality that you see every day. Would you like to tell us a bit about how this works out in your setting in Northern Uganda?
Thank you so much, Dr. Moira, for engaging me in this discussion today. I am a nurse, yes, based in Uganda, particularly in the northern part of Uganda, in Jumani district, where we host a lot of refugees. We have been having chronic illnesses as one of those conditions that we manage in the northern part of Uganda, particularly Jumani district. How is it on my side? How do we respond to these issues? I want to tell you a story of one of the refugee lady that we have in our care. We found this lady in a medical ward where she had liver cirrhosis, gross ascites. We engaged her into discussion and therefore managed her holistically as the physical aspect of it and also the social and the spiritual aspect of it. A month later on, we discharged her home and we made a follow-up. When we made a follow-up, we got a lot of changes in her. We found her in a better position compared to what we found her with while she was in the ward. The ascites was totally gone, and the family members, the children were all around her. It was like a miracle that had happened. You can see me with her. She's so smiling, very happy, and her life has totally changed. I remember she paused and then she says she feels she's 15 years and she's ready to get married again. So that is a miracle. Yeah.
Thank you, Vicky. And I know that your team engaged with her in so many different ways. There was the physical aspect of controlling her liver disease, but there was also a lot of conversations around the trauma that she'd experienced, losing her husband and her son to the conflict in South Sudan and her situation now. And I was there when you were even talking about how she could better support her grandson through school. So it was very much a holistic way of looking at these problems. Now, if we're going to make a difference, we have to somehow reach the decision makers. And Vicky, you're one of the best people I know at doing that. Tell us how you impact the opinion leaders, the decision makers in your setting.
The opinion leaders in our settings cuts across so many people. We have the political wing, we have persons who directly deal with the policy within our locality. What happens is we have been engaging them in many, many meetings. The case in point is one of the meetings that we had in one of the new districts that also hosts refugees. And this district is just at the corner where it's so hard to reach. The people in that end lament for care. We have one of our young doctor who is now a member of parliament that we went to engage into issues of chronic illnesses. And he says that our people are yearning for help. When we engage us, we'll make a change. And he felt that our presence there is a God-given gift. So when we engage leaders, when we engage people into care, they will make a big change as compared to when we leave them behind. Because they're the people in the community, they're the one making the community looks unto them for changes to make them better in terms of health, in terms of culture-related issues, in terms of spiritual issues. So we have been engaging them in meetings, we've been engaging them in issues to do with palliative care, and issues to do with chronic illnesses. So these are leaders. We have got the MP, the LC5, the community, spiritual leaders. Then we bring in NGOs, like the major NGOs that deals with refugee today is Medical Teams International. Yeah.
Thanks, Vicky. And I know you've also looked after sometimes the relatives of these opinion leaders, which counts for an awful lot. Now, I know you love to train. Tell me something about how you've been working with the health centres and some of the young men like we see in the picture who are right at the forefront of seeing people with chronic illness.
My strength is to work with others. my strength is to let the health workers, the community follow my footsteps. So I'm so happy when I train people who have been longing for, who have a desire to change. Because when you empower others, they're able to change from where they are to look at the world as a better place. This is one of the health workers that we train. He works in an integrated health facility that serves both the refugees and the host community. He says, I chose to come in for the training. And he's saying he has a desire to help people who are suffering. And that's what makes me happy. When you have a desire to help those who are suffering, you're a better person to live on this earth than that person who thinks of having pleasure than going into doing the work of a good Samaritan. So the person that the picture is being seen has changed his character after getting our healthcare training. Yeah. Yeah, and he also, there's one who went on saying, he still says, now I'm committed to do my work. And he pledged that this work that he's doing will not only remain here. This is a South Sudanese refugee, a healthcare worker, and he pledged to take the issue of chronic care up to South Sudan. That means the training that we have done in Uganda, in refugee settlement, will have an impact even in South Sudan because of the empowerment that we've given them. Yeah.
Thanks, Vicky. And I know this young man is also a local pastor, isn't he? So he's very key in the community. And when we were looking at that case scenario, it was very striking how many of the issues are actually cultural. And how do we have those kind of conversations? And I wonder if you could tell us a bit more about some of the work you've been doing to really target and train people from the community.
Culture, these are community attributed beliefs. Everyone has a culture that we lean on, but then there are certain cultures that we need to modify a bit. And we can't do it alone. We can't do it as an entity. We need to engage key persons like the village health teams. The village health teams, these are, we call them health center ones in our community. They are the people who have been chosen by the people themselves. So they listen well to the voices of their own persons. When we trained them, we have patients who have been neglected because of culture-related issues, not because their carers want to leave them alone, but it's because they do not know what is happening. So when we train the village healthcare workers, this one says he has realized that he made a mistake at one time. He will go back and then apologize to the community. And he's saying that training has struck the mind, has changed the heart. He's going to look at her community or his community in a different way. That's why he's saying, we realize this is one of the key aspects of life that is needed in the community. We do not know that people need support. Many times, unless you tell people what is happening around them, they do not know that actually you need what you need, and they go on neglecting you. So we train this village village health team, and they're doing better things in the community.
Yeah. And I think you have a couple of stories to tell us, particularly on people who have really done something quite amazing in their community settings.
Very, very true. When we train our village health teams, we make a follow-up, we pick their stories. We also go down to the community and find what is happening. The case in point is this young man called Philip. When Philip had a training, he went back to the community and he told us he engaged into counseling, engaged into spiritual aspect of life, because people have got feelings. And when you handle their feelings positively, then they will change. And there he is smiling. And the smile today he's putting before, it's the same smile that the people with chronic illnesses are putting in the community because of his passion for people with chronic illnesses. So that is Philip, our village health team.
And you'd also got these VHTs to even recognize people in their community. This is an impressive young man. Tell us about Dominic Sesiseko.
Dominic Sexeseko is a host from a host community as compared to Philip, because we've been training both the host community and then the refugee community in engaging them in this training. When Dominic got the training as a VHT, yeah, they had a role of identifying cases, linking them into care. And when you move in the community, you gain popularity. You let people know who you are. And at the end, they appreciate the work you do. So Dominic decided to take on to leadership, to become the LC3 chairperson of his community. And he won, and now he is the LC3 chairperson of his sub-county. And he says it's not all about the other form of education that he had, but because he was trained as a palliative care VHT, he got a training with Peace Hospice and its partners. So when he stood as a as the LC3 chairperson, he won. So there he is, he's now talking about palliative care in many of the meetings that he goes into. He's talking about chronic illnesses in many of the meetings that he's being engaged in. Yeah.
Now, Vicky, you talked before about families can be neglected. Just tell us something about how you're trying to mobilize these family caregivers in the community.
We have had so many cases in the hospitals where our patients with chronic illnesses are brought and then abandoned. And also when you make a follow-up in the community, you find our patients with chronic illnesses are being left alone. At times they're locked indoor. So we had to engage them because we realize when we ask them, we talk to them, the issue is not that they want to abandon these patients, but it's because they don't know. They fear maybe they would get the chronic illnesses that these people have. And then they're also saying culture is a problem. So when we engage them into this training, some of them reflected back and then they said they will go back and then apologize. They will go back and do better things. Like a case in point is this person who said, I have since been reflecting on how my mother, after being diagnosed with the cancer of the cervix, was crying throughout, and then we joined our mother into crying. Yeah. Then he's saying, I came from a place, a tribe, a place where people do not value you when you have got chronic illnesses. You are abandoned and then you are thrown away. Friends, I want to tell you a very small story of the recent training that we had of one of the painful culture-related issues. When you have a chronic illnesses, the elderly sit quickly, discuss, and they select one person. They tie you on the back, you go in a river. This man enters in the river to the level that you are drawn, and then you release and you die there. So when we sat with them, even when they were telling us this story, it was such a painful story. Then they committed themselves and they said, it is now them after this training, they will go and change the perspective of the community. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Vicky. We're almost out of time, but just tell us something just in our last minute or so about you. Tell us about Vicky.
I'm so happy to talk about myself always because I come in a community where women are not recognized as leaders. I started my leadership as a young girl because my father died and were left at the hands of my mother. I was the firstborn in 4 siblings, and I had to lead. My mother did not treasure my education, and yet I used to sell dinners at 100 at coins. When I pile my money, my mother would take my money away and then educate our follower who is a boy. I took on the leadership one time. I picked my money. I went and I paid my school fees, and that is it. So I got my rango from my mother right from the beginning. But I knew I wanted to become a leader. I joined nursing. When I joined nursing, it was also another hurdle. The doctors were so much pressing me. Why are you giving Panadol? It's the doctors who prescribe. And I said, no, I think I should do registration where I will have a voice. I went, I did registration. And after registration, I got this team, the partners who empowered me with the leadership. I did a leadership course. I did palliative care. And then I also did my bachelor's in palliative care. Remember, the northern part of Uganda we have got a community that have been suffering with a lot of pain of insurgencies, of now the refugee coming in. So what inspired me is the cases that I see every day in my community. People having cancer, people having diabetes, people having liver cirrhosis. Then I said, no, I have something to do. Then I formed an independent palliative care center. And it was from here that I was also given a leadership role of becoming the district lead as a palliative care person. And we sit and make policies in the district. So this is one of the things that has made me who I am today. And also we have the partners that are supporting us today. We have Cadis International, where Dr. Moira and the team sits. And also we have Palliative Care Education and Research Consortium that has given me a strength when I need technical guidance. They always come in. So this team has built me to make me who I am in my leadership journey.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining with us today. And thank you for everything that you've shared.